A few months ago, Baltany came out with a bicompax chronograph that proved extremely popular both with reviewers and with audiences alike. Now they have come back with a tricompax chronograph, which is somehow similar and at the same time quite different than that bicompax chronograph. But can they repeat the same prowess? Well, I have it right here with me, so let's see that right away. So here's the chronograph, and the model number is the S205045. Some difference with the previous chronograph, as you can see, especially with those numerals and with that tricompax layout. Let's start with that. Let's start with the dial, where most of the differences lie. First of all, with those 3 subdials. The seconds counter is on the subdial at 6, and regarding the chronograph function, the minute elapsed counter is at 12 and the hour elapsed counter is at 9. That is something that we lacked on the previous chronograph. We did not have this hour elapsed chronograph that can be something quite useful when you're measuring long periods of time. You've got the same hand on those 3 subdials, which is a Gladius style hand, and it is loomed, as we will see later on the loom video. The other main difference with the bicompax chronograph is the difference with the Arabic numerals. On the previous chronograph, you had the hours showing from 1 to 11. Here you've got the minutes showing on increments of 5, from 5 to 55. This results from some of the numerals being cut out by these subdials. Some people don't mind that, some people hate that. That is something we did not see on the previous version, and here you will decide if it does bother you. On the peripheries of the dial, you've got the hour, or rather minutes marker. The minutes are printed, but for the markers at every 5 minutes, which are loomed with old radium loom. At 12, you've got a small inverted triangle to keep in touch with the military style of this watch. The dial is a matte black with the brand and a chronograph text at 3. Right next to the window date. Let's note that the date wheel is not color matched. That doesn't bring a lot of imbalance to the dial because it is pretty much the same length as the 9 marker opposite to it. Regarding the hands, the hour and minute hand are sword hands, which are polished, and the second hand is lance shaped with the tip in red and a ring as a counterbalance. Covering the dial and hands, you've got a slightly domed sapphire crystal with pretty effective anti-reflective coating. The dimensions of the watch are 39mm in diameter by 12.1mm in height by 46.5mm in lug to lug by 20mm in lug width. This makes it that the watch wears very well on pretty much any kind of wrist. You can see it here on my 7-inch wrist. As I mentioned earlier, you've got an application of 2 kinds of loom. You've got BGW9 on the Arabic numerals and subdial hands, and you've got Superluminova Old Radium on the markers and the main hands. The loom is fairly good, especially initially, but as time goes by, you can see that it starts to fade, especially on the numerals. That is no biggie, as the important thing is that it remains on the hands, and it does. Let's talk about the case. And there's actually not a lot to discuss here, especially because, as with every military watch, this case is not very complex. It is bead blasted, no polished surfaces here, which is just as good as this is a military inspired watch. The back of the case is sterile, again no problems on that regard. It is screwed down, as are the pushers, which ensures that this watch is 100 meters water resistant, which is plenty good to swim with it. Let's talk about those pushers, and as you can see, all of the pushers, including the chronograph one, are screw down. The knurling is pretty basic, but very effective, and that main crown is big and grippy. It is unsigned though. Another interesting aspect of this watch is the movement. Here we've got the Seiko VK67 Mecha Quartz, which means that the main time is kept by a quartz module, but the chronograph is kept by a mechanical unit, which gives it that sweep of the chronograph hand once it's activated. Very, very nice. And it does come with the date functionality, as we have seen. Let's talk about the strap situation with the genuine leather strap. Not anything wrong with that strap. It is pretty good quality and thick, but with this style of watch, I would really go with the NATO version, and it is cheaper as well. Here I have put it on one of my own NATO straps, and I do really think that NATO complements it very well. So, positives and negatives of this watch. First positive, there's a functionality with that extra hour counter that will be pretty useful when you're measuring longer periods of time. Second, it's that lume, which is pretty effective, especially initially. Then there's the 100 meters of water resistance, which will allow you to expose this watch to water no problem. Then there's the design of the watch. Some people will like it very much on this newer design. Some people will not, as it might seem a bit cluttered compared to the previous version. At first I wasn't convinced, but as I am wearing this watch more and more, I am really starting to appreciate it. Then that will be up to you. On the negative sides, there's a relative simplicity of that case. Some people might expect a little bit more. It's in keeping with that military aesthetic. Some people might find the dial a bit cluttered. And then there's the price. I believe that $145 is a good price, although we have seen other chronographs with the same movement a bit cheaper than that on AliExpress. All in all, I feel that this is a very good watch. Will it do as well as the bicompax? We will see about that, but I am sure it will sell pretty well, especially with the upcoming AliExpress sale from the 12th of June. Stay tuned for that. Thank you so much for having watched. Why not go ahead and check other famous chronographs that I have reviewed on the channel, and I will be seeing you very soon. Goodbye.